How Iran is responding in real time. As we are talking to all of you, there is footage playing of inside of Qatar, missiles from Iran fired at the U.S. military base there. Iran has announced that its official response is underway. They are reporting that on Iranian state TV. That's their propaganda network. The attack on the Qatari U.S. base has begun. Also, other Middle Eastern U.S. forces now reportedly under attack as well. And we are waiting to hear what the impact is of the missiles that have been fired there. Again, this is in real time as all of us are talking with you. President Trump is with his top administrators right now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. And the question again is, what is the impact and the desire here, Buck? And this is where you, as an intelligence analyst back in the day, would be trying to scramble and assess. You and I were at Langley. We were on the CIA's campus just a couple of weeks ago, just in advance by like a day or so of the Israeli attack on Iran. And you remember, I can say this now, I think, I asked a question in a meeting and about Iran, because there hadn't been that many reports about it to that point. And it was like all of a sudden a veil of silence just descended on the room where they were like, you didn't have to be an expert to know something might be afoot.
Yeah, I was saying. And after I looked at Clay, I'm like, that was weird. We're striking Iran, or there's a strike coming, I should say. Israel's striking Iran. It was pretty obvious.
So the question here, and I'll toss this to you, is to what extent is this? And look, first of all, we're praying. We want all of our forces in the Middle East to be safe. I know many of you out there listening may well have family members, friends. We're going to give you the information as it is reported accurately to the best of our ability in a real-time dynamic situation. Big picture here, Buck. The question that is going to be integral and will go a long way towards determining what our response is how we assess what Iran is doing. Is this a face-saving, hey, U.S., you can't, rip our nuclear program to shreds without us doing something back, but it's a pulled punch, meaning we knew it was coming. It's not designed to deliver massive consequences, relatively speaking, or do we judge this to have been an acceleration beyond expected Iranian response? Much of this now is a dance of diplomacy through missile, which sounds complicated, but actually is important here as we try and determine the significance and severity of the Iranian response. Is it face-saving or is it accelerating would be a way, I think, to sum up what we have to analyze at this point in time.
Well, I think it's the best the Iranians militarily can muster against the regional enemies that they want to attack. Us and the Israelis are the top of the list. It's not that Iran, if Iran could level Tel Aviv tomorrow, it would do so. The reason that Iran hasn't done that is they can't do that. And that's
right.
Also true of their abilities here when it comes to hitting military forces in the region. They also, I think, at some level have to understand that if they were to go after soft targets, non-military targets, they would invite much more extreme retaliation. Look, this is a country that was, as I said, unable to protect its senior military leadership, unable to protect nuclear scientists from getting blown up in just their apartment buildings in like the corner of the building where they happen to live, unable to do any of those things in the opening of a conflict that they'd supposedly been preparing for really since the 79 revolution in some way.
Yes.
Okay? They're not militarily sophisticated as a country. That doesn't mean they're not dangerous. It just means they do not have a sophisticated first world military that can do, Russia, as we've seen, very different situation. We talk about Russia fighting against Ukraine. There you have, advanced planes, advanced drones, advanced communications, a lot of firepower. They've got stuff that can cause a headache for anybody. the Russians do. The Iranians, it's a little bit of a different situation. So I think what we'll see is probably these Iranians, these Iranian missiles. Look, I don't want to prejudge it. Let's see what happens. If it's just the strikes that hit bases and there's no major U.S. casualties, I think Trump will repeat his calls for negotiations, for some kind of, I guess, a ceasefire. You know, the part of this that is really wide open to me, and I haven't seen much clarity on this, is we're not going to push for regime change, but I shouldn't say we all, the Trump administration wants a different regime, but doesn't want to push and kind of topple the existing one more than what we've already done. Yeah, it feels like we're going to head into this uneasy status quo of a somewhat defanged Iran that we're hoping wants to come to the table and stop being crazy. But really, Clay, the fundamental problem with all of this is that the people that run Iran are bad people.
Yes.
And I mean, crazy isn't really the right word, but there is an ideological viciousness that is at the heart of the theocracy that is Iran. And so, you know, I also look at what happened in Syria. Yeah, finally the Assad regime came down. It took 13 years. And at one point early on, like 2013, 2012 timeframe, there were suicide bombers, jihadi suicide bombers that were infiltrating like the equivalent of Assad's Pentagon. I mean, they were right there knocking at the door, and the civil war was brutal, and the Assad regime held on for a decade plus. Do you have updates on this?
Yeah, I think I've got some information here. This is the spokesperson for Qatar, and this is a translation from Arabic. So all of this is on Twitter, all right? So obviously, I do not speak Arabic. I am not translating this in real time. This is according to, this is according to the Google translation.
This is Abu Clay al-Nashvili.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. This is my attempt. This is what I want to get out, because I know there's a lot of people out there. We express the state of Qatar's strong condemnation of the attack on Al Udeid Air Base by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Consider it a flagrant violation of the state of Qatar's sovereignty and airspace sovereignty, as well as of international law and the United Nations Charter. We affirm the state of Qatar reserves the right to respond directly in a manner proportional to the nature and scale of this blatant aggression and in accordance with international law. Okay. We are reassured that Qatari air defenses thwarted the attack and successfully intercepted the Iranian missiles. The Ministry of Defense will issue a statement clarifying the circumstances of the attack later. We also affirm the continuation of such escalating military actions undermines security and stability in the region. And so the base has been evacuated earlier in accordance with approved security and precautionary measures in light of the tensions. All necessary measures were taken to ensure the safety of the base's personnel.
Okay, so far so good. We shot down their stuff and we're looking okay.
No injuries or human losses occurred as a result of the attack, according to this report, which has just come down. That has not been publicly reported by anybody else, but again, that is the Qatari spokesperson. So
this is looking so far like it's very similar to the Qasem Soleimani retaliation, which was pretty much de minimis from a military damage perspective, and it was the Iranian regime doing really what's within their power militarily, right? I mean, this is something that I think a lot of people, when we talk about this, we have to remember this. When you talk about something like Hamas, I mean, Hamas doesn't distinguish. In fact, Hamas prefers civilian targets. Not only do they not distinguish military civilian, they prefer civilian. They're not going to go after the IDF. They're going to get their asses kicked. Hamas likes to go after, elderly people, people in wheelchairs, children. Like, that's Hamas's preferred target set, which is heinous. And in the case of Iran, so far, they are sticking to military response, which is a different thing under the laws of war and the Geneva Conventions, et cetera. This is something that you could say the Iranians are paying attention to. Will they go and cross that line and go Hamas and start having proxies on their behalf do this? You'd have to wonder, who are these proxies and what do they think they're going to get out of this? I think the message, Clay, we can get into this some more. J.D. Vance, for example, is on the Sunday shows. With this administration, it is so different. And I truly, this is not like, talk radio, our side, their side. It is so different from the dementia puppet in chief and what we had before. When these guys say something, when Trump and Vance and Hegseth say something about if you kill Americans somewhere, we're going to drop the fires of hell on your head, they mean it.
Yes.
And the bad guys know they mean it. And they know it will happen. And that has meaning. That has meaning for moments like this. Whereas with Biden, we know, the invasion of Ukraine happens. I mean, you look at this stuff. Like, no one takes the guy seriously. So, Clay, I'll get into some of this because I think J.D. Vance made it very clear that there are ways that the Iranians can respond that will be, within the laws of war, the boundaries of armed conflict, I should say. And there are ways that they can go outside of that. If they go outside of that, I think this administration is going to punish them severely. And that's the way that it should be.
And that's you also understand better than anybody else. You have to know what somebody means in negotiation. You can't, Biden was so weak. They felt like they could play him, and they knew that there was no spine behind anything he said. And these dictators, these mullahs,
and they were right.
They respond to violence.
Right? This is the thing. It's not like that was their perception and Biden was actually a sleeping giant or something. No. They were right by thinking he was an imbecile and not of sound mind.
And again, I think that sometimes you don't like it. And I think this is where Democrats, frankly, lack of masculinity becomes an issue. Most people who are in positions of power around the world are dudes who are mal actors, right? Are men, and they respond to violence. That's what they respond to. It would be great if they would respond to argument, but ultimately all they care about is, do you have the ability to do them harm? It's like bullies everywhere, right? Like on some level, you don't usually talk a bully out of being a bully. You have to make the bully fear that you can kick his ass. And that is what Trump is willing to do because I think he understands that. I think a lot of the soft, weak masculinity, frankly, of the Democrat Party might work when it comes to persuading lesbians of the truth of their arguments in the United States. It doesn't work when it comes to fundamentalist terrorists who are effectively in control of a country like Iran. I mean, that's the hard truth, and that's the reality. And they respect force and violence, and you have to sometimes show them that you're willing to deploy it. Biden wasn't. I think that's why Ukraine got invaded. I think the weakness that he showed in Afghanistan showed the world that he didn't have a steel spine, and they took advantage of it. I don't think Hamas would have invaded if Trump were in office. I don't think that Ukraine would have gotten invaded if Trump were in office. And I think what's happening right now is Iran is learning that Trump isn't to be trifled with. Look, we don't shy away from the tough topics of the day on the program. We tell you exactly what we think. And these are some of the things that most Americans agree on. How about this? Boys shouldn't compete in girls' sports. Another one, healthcare coverage is just plain broken. Too expensive, too confusing, way too unfair to people who work for themselves and can't join a group plan. That's why there's a solution to healthcare coverage called Ease for Everyone. Offers affordable healthcare for as low as $262 a month. You can keep your doctor, never pay a deductible, and access over 400 prescription drugs for free. Go online to their website, see what plan is right for you and your family. Ease for Everyone, developed by smart, forward-thinking experts located in my hometown of Nashville. You'll be speaking with guys and gals in Tennessee who live in your country and can speak your language, answering your questions. Visit easeforeveryone.com/Clay and join today. That's easeforeveryone.com/Clay.